Good evening and welcome. It is Monday, April 24th, 2023. It is 6:30 p.m. I call to order this meeting of the Burnsville Planning Commission. And tonight's Planning Commission meeting is being held both virtually and in person. As chair, I'll be leading the Planning Commission meeting, and the public's welcome to participate when invited throughout the meeting. Members of the public may attend the meeting in person, or they can join us via online Zoom. Additional instructions on how to do that are on our website at burnsvillemn.gov, and it's on the public meeting calendar. As usual, tonight's meeting is available for viewing on BCTV and on the city's website. If you're unable to participate this evening and would like to submit public testimony, I encourage you to email your comments directly to City Hall, or you can also mail them. You may participate online by going to zoom.us/join and typing in this meeting ID, 881-1469-1429. And once you're logged into the meeting, please use the chat feature to let the moderator know which item you wish to speak to. If attendees experience audio problems, we suggest you leave the meeting. Try logging back in. That usually fixes the issue. You may also call into the meeting using your cell phone, 651-372-8299. Again, same meeting ID, 881-1469-1429. For each public hearing, I will open up a time when callers may speak to that item, and we'll give more instructions when we get to that point. Your call will be muted until then, and if you can turn down your device when calling by phone or using Zoom, that would be great. Otherwise, there could be a bit of an echo effect. With that, we do have an agenda tonight, and I am looking to see if there's any changes in the agenda. Commissioners, seeing none, I'm going to change over to staff. Staff, any changes?
No changes.
No changes with that. We need adoption of the agenda. Commissioner Wallace.
So moved.
Move to adopt the agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Braddock. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And it has passed. I didn't mention, this is a power meeting. We barely got the quorum in, all three people for a huge meeting tonight. That's okay. We had a meeting on April the 10th. I was not here, but there were minutes in in our packet that we received. Any changes to the meeting minutes that you saw, commissioners? Seeing none, I'm going to turn to staff.
No changes.
No changes. With that, I'm going to go to a vote. All in favor? Oh, no, we need a motion first. Commissioner Braddock.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Commissioner Braddock. We have a motion. Do I have a second? Commissioner Wallace.
I'll second that.
That's a surprise. Second by Commissioner Wallace. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And that motion passes as well. We all are here for a public hearing for JPMorgan Chase Bank N.A., North America, for a planned unit development amendment to allow a bank use within the Burnhaven Mall PUD at 700 County Road 42 West. Here to present our public hearing tonight is Ms. Deb Garros. Deb, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Commissioners. We do have a fairly simple application, something that actually has been already located at the site many years ago, and they're seeking to come back. It's really a bank or financial institution type use, and they need to amend their planned unit development because this is one of those older PUDs that had specific uses identified, and bank was not one of them. So they're just making that amendment, and that is really the only approval that's needed this evening. They did provide some plans and some information that I can go through quickly. That does not need approval for those. They can just come in for a simple commercial building permit. So the subject site is located at the northwest corner of County Road 42 and Aldrich Avenue South. The site actually is a lot that has two buildings on it, and this is the most southerly building that JPMorgan Chase is looking to take over. It was the former, let's see, which one was it? FedEx building. was getting that confused with the old one. Former FedEx building's been vacant for quite some time, so this should be a nice use. They really are not making any exterior building changes, with the exception of installing a new trash enclosure on the southwest corner of the building, and then doing some site work, adding landscaping, and increasing the green space on the site, which is positive, and then also some Americans with Disabilities Act requirements that they are making upgrades to the sidewalk and entry. In terms of the PUD for this Burnhaven Mall, which is primarily everything to the south of 140th Street, except for this pumpkin patch in Center Place and Dakota Electric. Everything else is part of a planned unit development that dates back to 1976 with Dayton Hudson. There was, in 1979, a conditional use permit that they did at that point in time for a temporary use of a building in this location for savings and loan. And that was to allow them to use it for a temporary period of time until the facility was constructed. So that use was there. In 1988, a PUD amendment was done again to convert that savings and loan to a retail use. And that's why we need to come back now. If they would have just kept it, then we would not have had the applicant need to go through this PUD amendment. And then the corner subject site, everything basically below this east-west road and the access to County Road 42 was platted into one lot. It was later in 2005 divided, so the Barnes & Noble was divided from the other two so that they could do some sales of some of the properties. And that is really the last kind of formal application that's related to this site. The existing building is about 3,800 square feet. They have 16 parking stalls on site now. That's all they're required to have, and that's what's proposed. And the actual site area of this piece, as opposed to the entire PUD, is just about 3 acres. And again, we're looking at the southwest corner. All of the properties, the subject site and adjacent properties, even across the streets from 42 and Aldridge, are all planned unit developments and all with the mixed use underlying zoning. The improvements that they're proposing are adding the ADA ramps at the front entrance. They will be taking down, and already have taken down, the blue awnings that used to be there, putting up a more contemporary metal awning over the main entrance. They're removing a driveway from the west side of the building, and that will become green space. So that is, for the most part, where they're adding green space to the PUD. And then constructing a new trash enclosure at that corner. In terms of the benefits, again, it's a bank use. Elsewhere in this PUD, there is another bank, but this is separate. They had approved these separately a number of years ago. So there'll be a new business in a building that's been vacant for quite some time. The building meets both the PUD standards and also is compatible with the other buildings within the area. As I said, they're really looking to upgrade the appearance, and they really will only be painting the ephes on the building other than putting up the metal awning, so that's all you'll really notice from the front, on the building. The overall green space for the planned unit development, now this was done before the city's current ordinance, so they were allowed to have lesser green space than they would be now, but they are adding, I think, about 400 or 500 square feet of additional green space, so that's an addition. Their building perimeter landscape is increasing from 60 to 91%. They are putting in more shrubs than the ordinance standard, 50 versus 28 required, and then the new trash enclosure actually helps them meet the current ordinance standards. There are no PUD deviations that are requested. And just in terms of the site plan, on the left is the existing building before they took off the FedEx signage and awnings, and then to the right is what the building exterior will look like. And on the northeast elevation, this small one in the middle, that's where the new canopy will be located, metal canopy. The south elevation is what's facing County Road 42, and then the west elevation is facing towards Barnes and Noble. And there is a car that you can see west of the building, and that's in that driveway that has been there for many, many years, and most of that's proposed to be removed. The lower right-hand west elevation, this is where the new trash enclosure will be constructed. Floor plan, it's a typical, financial bank facility. And in terms of site improvements or changes, primarily, as I indicated, they're taking out this west parking area or driveway. So that's where the removal of a lot of the impervious surface ends up. And they'll basically be doing minor improvements, which include this is the trash enclosure, and these are where the ADA standards will be incorporated into the site. No other changes. The landscape plan, they're basically going to be taking out what's there, for the most part, a lot of the stuff that has died over the years. And they've proposed a very nice landscaping plan that will really, I think, improve the area and look very nice. And this last image that I'm showing you is, we did take a look at trying to connect the building with a pedestrian way. However, the topography makes it really difficult in this case, and you can kind of see it's more pronounced when you're actually out at the site, but the site is quite a bit lower than both County Road 42 and Aldrich Avenue. So what will happen then is, at the time that Aldrich Avenue is modified based on the Burnsville Center kind of plan, they'll take a look at pedestrian access at that point in time for the whole area of the mall. The recommendation from staff, we're recommending approval of the PUD amendment, subject to pretty standard conditions that previously approved PUDs and CUPs remain in effect, except as modified here. We're also expanding the uses so that in the future, if folks want to do something that is listed as a permitted use in the district, they can just do it with a permit and won't need to come back in and amend the PUD. Sign permit will need to be obtained before they put new signage up. There is a requirement in the mixed district for some bike parking for new sites, so we have added that as a condition, and there are several places where they can put that. We don't anticipate that there will be any issues with providing a couple of spaces. And again, just the final one, to put folks on notice that there are cash securities that are required at the time of building permit. So with that, I can stand for questions.
Great, thank you, Ms. Garros. Any questions, commissioners, for city staff?
None.
I noticed there isn't no drive-through at the bank.
Correct. Initially, they were thinking of putting a drive-through in. However, there are so many utilities and issues that they decided to amend the plan and not do a separate drive-through at this point in time.
And what was the reason for taking out that west side? That's not a fire hazard by any means or anything along those lines?
No, they will still be able to access the site via the, there is the parking lot. Let's show that better here.
Okay.
Yep. There is the parking lot and sidewalk just to the west. And they're basically just taking this out. It's not needed any longer. Again, they're taking it out. It increases the amount of green space, and that allows them to also put in their trash enclosure here. Once they install the trash enclosure, you wouldn't be able to utilize any of that area.
Yeah, I just know that there's cars that go through there, but maybe that's probably better that they don't.
So at this point in time, this is all that's requested.
Yeah, well, that's fine. It's great. And there was some talk about engineering with sidewalks. Was that what you were mentioning? What
Yes.
the upgrades were to?
Yep.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, we were not able to, we worked with the engineer for the applicant, trying to find a place where they could make a connection, from this site to the existing sidewalks, both in 42 and Aldrich Avenue. And with the topography, it just wasn't workable. That's why they'll take a look at it when we do redevelopment work, either on County Road 42 and Aldrich, or either or.
Sounds great. Makes sense. All right. Well, thank you, Ms. Garros. No other questions, right, Commissioners? Just double checking. Okay. We do have the applicant here, Brian Gammons, with Rollers, is that what it is? I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, my name is Brian Gammon. I'm with Kimley Horn on behalf of the applicant, Chase Bank, and the Architect Partnership. I think Deb pretty much covered the basis of design here, but just to reiterate, we're really not touching much of the building. It's pretty much some basic improvements from the landscape perspective and the ADA perspective. Yeah, I mean, everything's pretty much internal to the building at this point, getting it branded for Chase Bank, and we really don't expect any traffic implications more than whatever the peak use was. So it's just getting that bank piece into the new PUD.
So it will be a Chase Bank that's coming in there?
Correct.
We don't see a lot of those here in Minnesota. Any questions for the applicant? Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate you coming in today.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And welcome to Burnsville. Oh, you're with Burnsville. Anyway, it is a public hearing. I'm going to open that up. It is 6:45 to open up the public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak to this item may come up to the podium, or if you're on Zoom, you can just tell the moderator you want to speak to this item. I believe there's nobody on Zoom. I believe that's what I heard. And that is what I heard. So I will close this public hearing at 6:46. With that, I'm going to turn to the commissioners. Commissioners, do you have any thoughts, motions? Commissioner Wallace?
I think this is pretty straightforward. It'd be nice to have a business go back in there. And if you don't have anything, I'd like to make a motion.
Well, Mr. Wallace, it's all yours.
All right, I'd like to make a motion for the Plan Commission recommend to the City Council approval of the PUD amendment application to add bank as a use allowed in the PUD subject to the 5 conditions.
Good deal. Commissioner Wallace made a motion. Do I have a second? Commissioner Braddock?
I second the motion.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Braddock. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And no one opposes. It's unanimous. It will end up on the consent agenda at our next city council meeting, which will be
May 2nd.
May 2nd at 5:30 in these very chambers. With that, we will go to the next item on our agenda, which are updates. Commissioners, any updates from you? No? City staff, do I have any updates from you?
The next planning commission scheduled for May 8th, so look for that packet to come out shortly.
Good deal.
And we'll be looking at the Cub 42 redevelopment at that application at that night, so
All right.
big stuff.
Yeah, might want to tune in for that one. It's going to be a good one. With that, we'll go to number 4 on our agenda. Commissioner Wallace.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn is made by Commissioner Wallace. Commissioner Braddock.
I shall second the motion.
Second by Commissioner Braddock. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That's all we have. Thank you for joining us. 18 minutes. Take that, Timmerman.